Hey, family, hope all is well. Glad to have you along for the ride again. This is Dr. William Clark, and we're here for another co-working session. So I wanted to just do a quick behind the scenes for those of you who are drafting grant applications or micro grant applications or proposals in response to RFPs, whether they are solicited or unsolicited. Want to just talk through the concepts and how this works and what are the best practices for you to consider as you think about putting something together for your company. Now, if you are a nonprofit, you're going through this process on a regular basis in the form of a grant, right? So the grant itself serves as one of your main economic drivers or income engines that puts you in a position to generate revenue on a consistent basis for your nonprofit organization. And depending on when you're watching this, you may be in grant season, and in many cases, you may be out of grant season, but opportunities have presented itself to you, and so now you're here and you're trying to get through the application process as efficiently as possible. So, a couple of thoughts here, and this goes for micro businesses, small businesses, solopreneurs as well. But let me just use language specific to each group here. Just start with nonprofits and then we'll switch over to for-profit businesses. So in the form of a nonprofit, you do want to obviously tap into where the grant application source is. So when you've been invited to complete the actual application or draft LOI, or anything application related, you want to make sure you don't draft within the application portal itself, right? One of the worst things you can do is start the drafting process and then not have the ability to save, or you're thinking you hit the save button and you come back to it. It's best to draft anything you do outside of the application process. Now, things have obviously gotten dramatically better with online portals and whatnot, where you could draft and pick up where you left off. But you want to be in control of your content. So you want to draft it in your own platform, whether it's your cloud drive or on your PC or anywhere else that you feel that is best suited for your ability to edit information. The second rationale behind this is when you're drafting it in your own controlled environment and platform, it allows you to see the information in a more fluid way, right? So if it's in a Word document or in a Google Doc or wherever the case may be, you get to see everything top to bottom, and it's easier to make those edits and changes within the doc as opposed to being distracted by the formatting of the LOI or the application, right? Here's the third reason why you want to draft it out of it. Now, if we're talking about AI, utilizing AI to maximize input and outputs and impact documentation, etc., you need to export the actual application out. Now, I'm not going to advocate for having AI write your application because I think that for those of you who have continued to grow in your usage of it and have a mature way of utilizing it, and mature meaning the method you use or your prompting is just at the peak of where it should be or could be. There's a way to do it. But if you're just saying, all right, study my company and just write some stuff and fill in the application, that's definitely not the way to go. So this ties into something that I share with my clients that I have done for a very long time, and this precedes AI, but it works well with AI. You want to make sure, above all else, before you draft any applications, any LOIs, that you have a master grant application. The master grant application is a very detailed description of your programs, your outputs, your results, anything about your organization that's documented in one place. Now, I have worked with clients who have said that they have a master grant application and the document itself is literally 2 pages long. And so it creates a challenge because if you're hiring a grant writer, or you hired a grant writer, or you are in a pinch and need somebody on staff to draft a grant, that 2 page document doesn't get you where you need to be. And so it creates a significant challenge for you and whoever is assigned to the actual grant application process to write a quality grant. On average, it takes 14 days for most normal organizations to draft a complete grant application. This includes researching the opportunity, drafting the opportunity, responding to all the questions appropriately, getting feedback, getting all the sign-offs and budgets and everything associated with the actual application completed. And so that can be a really difficult time presented to a grant writer or someone who is assigned to a grant writer process. Now, you may say, oh, that's not bad. Well, here's the problem. If you have multiple applications that are due within that 14-day window or 30-day window, and the times are overlapping and time is tight and the resources needed to help contribute to the opportunity are tied up, or they are, involved in other things, this can be a challenge, right? And so for you as a grant writer or someone leading this effort, it's really essential, for you to understand the depth of your programming. And if you're only operating off of a 1.5, 2-page document, it really leaves you in a lurch. So when we work with our clients to draft master grant applications, those master grant applications typically are between 20 and 30 pages, because we're asking a series of questions and subset questions that we know funders are curious about, questions that funders want to know more about relative to your organization. They're asking questions based upon them getting to know your organization, even if there's a relationship, right? The depths of the questions that we're utilizing pulls out of you information that you might not think is essential or important, or they already know that about me. But the reality is, when it comes to drafting a quality grant application, these questions are going to be the questions that help you answer number of questions in a detailed way, and that tells the story of your organization. And so this master grant application is your key tool. It's better than AI. It's better than any tool that you can come up with or think of. It's better than any technology that you can think of, because it not only helps you write grants, it helps you write grants faster. It helps you write grants more efficiently. It helps you write grants more effectively and consistently. It doesn't matter who is writing the grant, whether it's a new person or a seasoned person, whether it's an external consultant or a volunteer. The consistency, the effectiveness, and the speed with which you can get this thing done is driven by the master grant application, and it is a critical tool in your arsenal. What makes it pop even more is its integration into AI. Whether you're utilizing Claude or Perplexity or Chat GPT or Gemini or Notebook LM or any fill-in-the-blank AI tool, even our AI tools at our company, the AI tool is only as smart as what you educate it to be smart on. And so you need to inform the AI tool on the critical details of your organization, which can only be found in your master grant application. So whether you work with our team or someone else, or you work internally to develop this master grant application, it's an essential tool in your arsenal to get quality, consistent grant applications done. And you're not pressured by that 14-day window. Sometimes in some organizations, I know I said that the average is 14 days. Again, that's an average. It can be much longer for many organizations, particularly if you're small, if you don't have a grant writing department, if your executive director is doing, ED stuff and grant writing. It can be really time consuming. And so when you combine a great AI tool with great information, then you can go ahead and fill out a great grant application. It still needs your eyes on it afterwards, because AI is like any other technology, is only as good as its inputs. And so you're going to have to trust but verify whatever is outputted. Make sure that it's telling the story you want it to tell, making sure that it communicates what you want to communicate, making sure it's hitting all the right notes that you want to put out there for your funder, etc., etc. Verified numbers, stats, figures, etc. All of that is essential. Now, for small businesses or businesses of any size that's responding to an RFP or a request for a proposal, or you've been invited to submit a proposal, or you've downloaded a proposal from a platform, or you've been sent an RFP with details of the needs of the customers. It's very similar to the grant application process. How you may have come across the RFP may be different, doesn't matter. Grant application, RFP, all the same thing, all the same world, same principles for nonprofits apply for businesses who are pursuing business and opportunity and revenue through RFPs. So you don't start with the RFP. You start with, obviously, follow the same steps, take the RFP, put it into a Word document, flesh out all the questions. However, you want to have what I will call a master proposal that documents all the details of your organization so that you could draft it accordingly. And again, you get the same exact results from your cover letter to your background to your team layout. To your methodology, to your sample projects in the past, from your budget, your timeline, and references. And then the only blank part is the scope of work, because the scope of work is unique to the actual request for proposals. You can have sampled scope of works that you can put together that generally conceptualizes what you are looking to accomplish, or what you will accomplish, or how you will do business for each of the areas where you specialize in. Or you can have an outline of how you want your scopes of work laid out. You can do it in any way you want to. But again, the AI is only doing what you tell it to do, and it's only as smart as the information you feed into it. So if your master proposal is not as good or not as thoughtful as it could be or should be, then you're going to get really bad results, is one way of saying it, but you're going to get results that are definitely not what you're looking for. And the customer on the other end, they're going to notice, and if a number of businesses do the same thing, they're going to see a trend, and it X's you out for consideration. And so you need to have something super custom to you, to your company, to your business, to your products, to your services, that allows you to position your business, whether it's a micro business, small business, mid-sized business, well, right? Everybody that's been doing the RFP process to pursue opportunity understand it's all about the story. It's all about how it's conveyed. And so you need to have something that's custom. So at minimum, you want to have something that's 10 to 15 pages long. The RFP process just is a bit different. And it also depends upon who you are replying to. Now, the 10 to 15 pages is not including the actual scope of work. The actual scope of work gets developed based upon what you're reading in the RFP, which can then add an additional 3 to 5, maybe 10 pages, depending on what you're replying to, whether it's a private project or whether it's a city, state, or federal project. That length can be extended. But more than anything else, the moral of the story is that you have a template, no matter if you're a nonprofit or whether you are a for-profit business. That template is everything. Now, typically I advise that or recommend that the templates, the master grant application or the master proposal, has a shelf life of roughly 3 years, so 36 months. It allows you to make tweaks and changes in this living document. It is something that you definitely want to keep as a living document. It's not monolithic. Things change within the business or the nonprofit, so you want to be able to be responsive. And because you're tweaking those master documents, it naturally allows you to continue to make iterative changes and improvements in future proposals as you're submitting them and making them. As I mentioned, AI helps, it aids, it speeds things up, it adds some level of consistency and efficiency. But remember, you're preemptively building that into your workflow anyway by having a strong master grant application and a strong proposal. Now, I do recommend just a couple more tidbits. You put this together in a team environment where you're doing a writing party over several hours, several days with key members of your team. No matter which side you fall on, nonprofit, for-profit, a writing party allows for the best ideas to come forth. It allows for a bunch of people to contribute to the ideas that will show up in the proposal. In our team and with our clients, we have a series of questions that we follow based upon methodology that we believe in. If we are brought in, we facilitate the conversation. A lot of times it'll feel like a strategic planning session because it is parallel to a strategic planning process, but not quite the same because the questions that are asked are a lot less forecasty and a lot less about an envisioned future, whereas in a grant application or in a proposal, it's more about information that's grounded in reality that you can actually execute on today if hired or if funded. So two different viewpoints. But when we're brought in to do those things, we bring in a methodology, and it is a conversation. It is writing sessions. It is ideating across the board with a variety of folks with different perspectives within the company. This allows for the best information to be presented and the best information to be brought forth so that it best represents the business, the organization, as you're submitting these proposals. So this is something that that I talk about quite extensively on this channel in one way or another. And this is something that I'm always kind of reminded to bring up every so often because it brings in some critical thinking into your process that seeks to help you get better at running your business and takes the barrier away from you advancing to the next financial stage of your business. So it can't be anymore, well, we can't get grants or I hate grant writing. You still may hate grant writing, but what you can do is improve the writing experience and process. It does require some pain putting this application process together, the master grant application and the master proposal. There's no way around it. You got to put it together. But it requires you to plan, to think, to strategize, to articulate in an environment with other people what is happening and what you can deliver on. You do it one good time. That document, those documents live on. And again, the more quality you put in, the better the outcome you will have and the better results you will start to see within your organization. I hope you find this helpful. I hope that this helps you start to think about the planning process towards the execution of your goals for this year. And my hope is that you continue to grind it through, but do it in a way that's within a system, within an environment that helps you do it consistently and more successfully. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you and hearing about the results that you're going to achieve along the way. Till next time, see you guys later.